before I get started, your secret is out. You got a whole bunch of Democrats down here in the villages. You can't keep it to yourself anymore. I was appointed the insurance consumer advocate of the state of Florida by Alex Sink. And in that role, it was my job to represent insurance consumers against insurance companies. So I ran a staff of about 15 people in Tallahassee, and I was the one standing up for you against them. And it was a wonderful job to have. And I got that job from Alex Sink. She's the one that appointed me to that job. And I resigned that job to work on her governor's race. And so I remember coming here. I remember the car ride over, and we were wondering how many people were going to be here, and how many people we were going to find, and it was like this 8 years ago. And so your secret is out. It's wonderful. This is what pumps us up to keep going when I get to come talk to you all about why this is such an interesting and winnable race. Let me talk about politics a little bit, because I know that was one of the charges I got. You heard from the speaker right before me who's exactly right. I want to talk about improving our politics, though, because politics can clearly improve our lives, but we need to improve our politics. This country, politics has gotten very nasty, very ugly, and I want to commend the judicial candidates. I've never seen opponents that nice to each other. I couldn't stand on the same stage with my opponent. That was very nice and great, and I know it's frustrating for judicial candidates because they can't say what they believe in. Watch what I do up here. I can say what I believe about anything, and I'm going to say it, but that was really impressive to see that, and we need more of that. But what we need more in politics is listening to other people that don't look like you, that don't believe in what you believe in, that don't live where you live. Listen. I didn't say you had to do what they told you to do. I said just listen. And there's a lot of not listening going on in America. There's a lot of not listening going on. And it's unfortunate that the president was able to use a lot of wedges in this country, culturally, racially, gender-wise, class-wise, to win. And he split us up in a lot of ways because we're not listening to each other. And I'll give you a great example because listen, that's not no secret. I'm standing in front of you. I'm African American. And I want to talk about and this is a dangerous issue, but I want to talk about it because it's a lot about what the message I want to tell you. It's about standing for the pledge, the national anthem. And I want to talk about listening. What were those athletes taking a knee for? What did they tell you they were taking a knee for? They told you they were taking a knee to protest police violence on people that look like them. That's what they told you they were taking a knee for. What were they accused of? Taking a knee because they were not patriotic and they were un-American. That's not listening to each other. And so when you have things like that, you can imagine how the people that are taking the knee feel when they're not listened to as to why they're in fact doing it. And then you can imagine how the people yelling at them feel when they don't in fact listen as to what's actually going on. Nothing to do with patriotism, nothing to do with being un-American. It has to do with 15 people of color around the country dying in police custody and the NFL players wanting to protest it. That's an example of just listening. I don't have to change your mind on anything. I don't have to make you believe what I believe. Just listen to why I'm doing it. We need more of that in politics. I mean, that's a great example, I think, of an issue that has gotten so divisive, so nasty. And it is really a direct result of us just not listening to each other. And so I just want to tell you, just listen to people that don't believe in what you believe in, don't come from your background, don't look like you. You'll be amazed as to what you'll pick up. And it's one of the reasons we knock on doors as politicians. It's one of the reasons why we come to your door and knock on it and say, hey, I'm Sean, I'm running for Attorney General, tell me what's important to you. Because I know what's important to me, but I don't know what's important to my neighbor down the street. They may bring up an issue that I need to know about. I need to know what's important to them. That's why we knock on these doors. You don't do it just to get the vote, you do it to listen to as to why the issues are important. So, listen, thank you. My speech here got a lot shorter when I realized I didn't have to prove to you that this was the most important election of our lifetime. Because we all get up here and we say this, but I hope that I don't have to tell you what it means for 2018 that we've got to do better than where we're at. And I'm going to make the case to you that I'm running for an office where I can have my hands on all of this. But the first thing I want to tell you is, and Jeff brought it up, who my father was, one of the reasons why I'm standing here before you today. And Jeff talked about the triumvirate of gubernatorial, Democratic governors we had. Askew, Graham, and Lawton Childs, and my dad had a connection, all three. Askew appointed my father to the Industrial Relations Commission way back in '74. Bob Graham appointed my father to the District Court of Appeal in '78 and then the Florida Supreme Court in 1983. And when my dad was Chief Justice of the Florida Supreme Court, he actually swore in Lawton Childs. And so that was really cool. It's one of the cool things you get to do when you're running for office. You get to run into people who knew your father. Bob Graham endorsed me the other day. And I will tell you that I've been in politics a long time, and even I'm cynical, but when somebody that appointed your father to the Supreme Court stands in front of a church and endorses you, that'll choke you up even if you're a political cynic like me. And so it was very, this campaign it's amazing when you get to travel around the state and tell people why you're better than Pam Bondi. It's not going to take you long to make that But it's amazing when you can travel around and tell people why this race is so important. And this is a race that isn't usually on our radar, right? Usually we're all in for the governor and we just hope for the best. This is a race that's winnable. And it's winnable because of what kind of cycle we're in. I mean, I will make no apologies for it. This isn't a race that usually is something I would have done. I got elected in 2016 to the Florida legislature. And I represent Tampa in the Florida legislature. There we go. We know, oh, we got another one. So I represent Seminole Heights, if you know where that is, Ybor City. I represent the Hard Rock Casino that's in my district. I won't make any eye contact to see if anybody goes. But it's a wonderful district. But I just got there. I worked very hard to get there. Knocked on a lot of doors. Had a lot of work to get there. So I get there. And you get to the Florida House of Representatives and you think you have made it. This is what I worked so hard to be. This is what I want to do. And the first day that I sit on the Florida House floor, first day they give you that little flower, the first day the speaker gets up and says that the teachers union is evil and ought to cease to exist. First day. First day. That ought to tell you what kind of politics you're dealing with up there. And so you can imagine I voted no a lot of times, right? I didn't know there was a green button. I voted no so much because what is going on in Tallahassee is a travesty. It's awful, and I'm glad we've got other people running to get into the Florida Senate and the Florida House because the way it affects your everyday lives, it's the legislatures where your problems are. Whether it's public education, whether it's the environment, whether it's all these issues we're going to talk about, it's the legislature. And so, when I was thinking about this I wanted to be Attorney General since I was a little kid. Because I think it's the best job in Florida. Because you represent the people. I'm running to be your lawyer. And when I'm your lawyer, I don't have to ask permission from anyone to do anything. That's right. I don't have to ask the governor if it's okay for me to file a lawsuit. I don't have to go to the legislature and say, can I investigate this going on over here? I don't have to do any of that. And it's the best job to do good for people without any interference. And so I've always known I was going to run for this. I just didn't know when. And it's now. It's now. And so you heard a little bit about my background. I'm a consumer advocate, literally. That's what I did. It shouldn't be any surprise what I do for a living now. I sue insurance companies. I'm proud of it. I'm a lawyer that represents you against insurance companies. That's what I do for a living, and I'm also in the legislature. And my record is one of consumer advocacy, consumer protection. That's what I do politically. That's what I do personally. And I've been rated the worst legislator in Tallahassee by big business. So that's one F I'm proud of. That's one F and I don't mean just in the House. I'm the worst guy up there, period. And which means I'm the best person for working families. That's why every union has endorsed me. That's why we've gotten a lot of momentum, a lot of endorsements, because people understand records matter. What you do matters. You don't run for a promotion unless you do a good job where you're at. And I will submit to you my record in the legislature would hopefully tell you that I've done a good job where I'm at. But there's more to be done. And there's more to actually get done if you can do it. Because like I said, I can sit in the back and press the red button all day. Or I can run for an office where I can actually do some things. Let's talk about public education. Well, we're going to talk about it. I love when I appear with the gubernatorial candidates and each one of them starts talking about public education. And then I tell them I'm the only one running that can actually sue the legislature to get more funding. Right? Raise your hand if you can sue the legislature. And that's exactly what we intend to do day one. There is a constitutional amendment that says public education ought to be adequately funded. And I will make the case to you that we don't do it in this state. The legislature does not adhere to that amendment. There's only one office that can sue the legislature about that, mine. Let's talk about the environment a little bit. Because if you remember passing that amendment where you would take dock stamp money and purchase environmentally sensitive lands. We remember all the work we did to pass that amendment. The legislature doesn't do that. The legislature does not do what the constitutional amendment says. Again, I'm running for the only office in the land that can sue the legislature on that as well. We also recently passed an amendment about medicinal marijuana. The legislature and the government in Tallahassee is doing everything they can to slow walk that, to limit your access to it, even though you passed that constitutional amendment. Again, there's only one office that can sue the legislature on that as well. It's mine. It's the one I'm running for. That's why this office is so powerful and important. And the reason I've got to tell you all these things I could do is because you don't know it, because you've never seen it. Because the occupant we have there now is quiet when she ought to be loud, and loud when she ought to be quiet. And in the last 8 years, you can't give me one example of Pam Bondi disagreeing with the governor or the legislature. That's not a good lawyer. That's not an independent watchdog. That's not someone you want to be as your attorney general, someone who's rubber stamping anything that the majority party does in Tallahassee. I'm going to tell you this, and this is not something I run from. When I get elected to be attorney general, it is going to be contentious. We're going to have some problems. That's why I'm running. I told you, I'm not running to sit in the back and press the red button. I'm running to get in some fights on your behalf. That's why we're running. And listen, if you happen to be in this room and you like Pam Bondi, I'm probably not your guy. I can't get everybody. There's some votes I won't get. But if you think you need something different than what we've had the last 8 to 12 years, then I hope you will consider Sean Shaw for Attorney General, because it will be completely different. I'm telling you, day one, we're suing the legislature. Day one. Now, and let me tell you about some other things we're going to do, because I want to talk about this immigration stuff we got going on. And Jeff said a great thing about why we're Democrats, because we care. Guess who doesn't care about kids in cages? They've showed you they don't care. None of my opponents running for Attorney General on the other side have said one word about why it's not okay to tear kids from parents and put them in cages in a detention center, wrap them in foil for a blanket, and put them in a center that looks like a jail. And I've been there. They wouldn't let me in. They won't let in state elected officials. But I went there and tried to get in, and we did a press conference outside, and that's awful. That's the worst human rights abuse going on in America today. And if you're running for Attorney General and don't have anything to say about it, you need to run something else, because you're not doing it right. And so 13 attorney generals around this country have filed a lawsuit against the administration to stop that. If I win, it's 14. We will join that. Day one. I love it here. I'm coming back. And I appreciate that, and that's why I love this room. But those are the things that separate us from them. I've never been more proud to be a Democrat than I am this cycle. Never. Because it's never been clearer what we stand for and what they stand for. Never been clearer. You know, when I knocked on doors in my district, it's a poor African American district in Tampa, and I knocked on a lot of doors. You know what people told me? There's no difference between a Democrat and a Republican. I was poor then, and I didn't have a job, and I'm bad now and don't have a job. Guess what? You can't say that anymore. You cannot say that we are the same and that both the parties are bad, because now you got a choice. You believe in cages or not. And I hate to be that explicit about it, but it is really awful what's going on down there, and the language coming on from the top all the way down. And listen, I just told you, you need a lawyer that's going to represent you. So I don't care if it's someone committing fraud on the street, or the legislature, or the president. I'm protecting you and I'm on your behalf, and if I gotta fight with anyone in between, that's why we're running. I will absolutely do that. That's why this job is the best. And I don't have to ask anyone's permission to do it. That's the best point. And I heard you say that. I'm gonna make this case. Mar-a-Lago's in Florida. That's all I'll say. I hope I made the case to you that I'm running for the office that has their hands on all of these issues, and I'm the one that can immediately sue and start doing some things about it, and I will. I just need you to help me get there. And look, I know I'm talking to a room full of people who want an attorney general like the one I'm talking about, who want me to be the attorney general. Guess what? There's rooms full of people that don't. There's rooms full of people who want exactly what we've had because it helps them. There's rooms full of special interests that don't want somebody who's going to be active and proactive and go after wrongdoers. There's rooms full of people who want the status quo. That's why I got to lean on you in this room to help me get there. And listen, when I tell you that this is possible, I'm not telling you this is pie in the sky. Poll after poll has me beating the Republicans in this race now. This is not a wing and a prayer. This is not a suicide mission I'm running to get my name up. I can win this. I'm up by 5 points against both Republicans running now. That's a huge deal in July. No Democrat has been in the place I'm in now running for Attorney General in decades. That's how big a deal those numbers are. So listen, we need you. Nelson needs you. These gubernatorial candidates need you. I need you. Jeremy Ray needs you. This whole cabinet needs you. Because if Democrats win 2 or more cabinet seats, this state instantly changes. Instantly changes. The clemency process instantly changes. All right? If I'm on the cabinet, do you think the CFO is asking a black man how many baby mamas he has before he gets his clemency rights back? I mean, it's these types of things that are at stake. I just gave you 3 constitutional amendments that the legislature has done everything they can to stop. If we pass Amendment 4 to automatically restore the rights of felons, what do you think the Republican Attorney General will do if they're there? I mean, this is a super important office. You just don't know it because you haven't seen it. It's the best office in Florida. It's the one that I can do the most good with the least amount of interference, and I hope you will help me get there. We've got materials here. I am Sean Shaw, and I'd love to be your Attorney General.